So thank you for the reminder. And yeah, let's begin. So welcome. My name is Reed. I'm a manager with the Greater Victoria School District. I work on the International Student Department side of things. I believe it's around noon in Hong Kong. So I do appreciate everybody taking time out of their day to join us. And I hope everybody is staying healthy and safe in Hong Kong right now. Okay. So I'm going to switch over to my screen share and we'll get started. If you have any questions or you're wondering about something, I'll be checking the chat box as we go. And then obviously at the end of the session or near the end of the session, we'll have a bit of a question answer period. So, you know, if there's students or family members who want to ask questions, they can do it during, and I can kind of check in, or they can wait till the end and I can answer those questions at the end. Okay. I'm just going to switch my screen over here for a moment, so bear with me. All right, so a little bit about myself before we get started. As I mentioned, I'm a manager with the program. My background, I've been with the Greater Victoria School District for the last 7 years. Prior to my role as a manager on the international side of things, I was a high school teacher. A large part of my role or my responsibility is student support. So for students who come from Hong Kong, I would act as the custodian if students join our homestay. Some students from Hong Kong decide to opt for private. Many of the students from Hong Kong, though, are under my custodianship, which essentially means that I'm responsible for them while they're here, and I take that responsibility very seriously, obviously. And part of that student support role is also just making sure that students are taking the classes they need, they're talking to their teachers, they're doing their work. You know, if they need extra help or they need tutoring, I can assist with that. So that's kind of the biggest part of my job, if you will. And then another role, obviously, is the recruitment, the marketing, the connecting with families, and just having these information sessions and talking about some of the benefits of education in Victoria. Okay, so that's a little bit about me before we get started. So there's really 3 areas that I'm going to cover tonight with regard to international education in Victoria. The 3 highlights, if you will, and that's the city of Victoria, which is considered to be one of Canada's nicest cities. The world-class education that we can offer to students who participate in our program. And then also I just want to touch on the role of the international program in a student study path and how we can support and how we do support students while they're here. Okay. So a little geography lesson for you. I apologize. Some of you maybe you're geography whizzes and you know all about where Victoria is, but for those of you who may not know, Victoria is located on southern Vancouver Island. We are approximately 50 kilometers from Vancouver. Now you'll notice that obviously there's water you need to get across. So there's really 2 ways that you can get to Vancouver from Victoria. You can take the ferry. You can either drive on or you can walk on. The ferry takes about an hour and a half. Or you can fly from Vancouver to Victoria or vice versa. And flying takes about, you're in the air 12 minutes, 13 minutes maybe. So it's a very short flight. The other cool thing about Victoria is we're very close to Seattle. And there is a ferry that goes from downtown Victoria to downtown Seattle. It takes about 2 hours. It's a beautiful ferry ride. And we do have students, my wife and I, we often will take the ferry. Not right now because of the strangeness of the world, but we'll often jump on the ferry and go to Seattle for the weekend or for the day, even depending on the time of year. So it's a nice location, and it's kind of the best of a smaller city with some bigger city amenities. So again, Victoria, considered to be Canada's most beautiful city, one of its nicest cities. It's number 2 in terms of tourism. We have the second most visitors in Canada, and the number 1 destination is obviously Vancouver. But when you consider that Vancouver is literally 5 times the size of Victoria, we feel like we're doing quite well in that regard. We've been voted the best small city in the world by various magazines. I can't remember the last publication that just came out. I think it might have been National Geographic North America. And again, we were in the top 10 nicest cities in North America. So we're quite proud of our city, and I think it shows in the way it presents. We have a relatively small population. By Canadian standards, Victoria is considered quite big, but I know on an international stage or an international setting, 400,000 people, 370,000, 400,000, it's considered still to be quite small. But as I did mention, we do still have, all of the amenities. If you're looking for ethnic food, or you want to go shopping, or you want some, entertainment, we have all those options for you. But it's still very easy to, take public transportation and get from downtown Victoria to your home in, 20 to 25 minutes. So that's kind of one of the convenient factors about students who decide to study in Victoria. We have 3 top kind of employment sectors, if you will. Technology is our fastest growing industry. The nickname of Victoria is Techtoria. I myself have a number of friends who are in software design, software development, software engineers, and they all have employment here in Victoria, and it's just a thriving and growing industry. Part of the reason for that is we're in the same time zone as Silicon Valley, California. So there's a lot of opportunity for people who are interested in kind of the technology, the computer side of things. Hospitality and tourism are another big employment sector for us. As I mentioned, we're number 2 in Canada for tourism. And then education and government. So we have the University of Victoria, which is one of the best universities in BC. We have the University of Royal Roads, and we also have Camosun College, which is the largest college in British Columbia as well. So between all of those sectors, we have I should also mention, as the capital city, obviously we have a very large number of government jobs as well. So our economy is quite stable and it's quite strong. So we're quite proud of that. Just a little bit of an overview about the Greater Victoria School District. Generally speaking, in British Columbia, the way it works is each city is its own school district. So the Greater Victoria School District, we have between 22 and 23,000 students. We have 7 high schools. Most of our international students are coming at the high school level. Not all, but most. We have 10 middle schools and we have 27 elementary schools as well. We have a very modern curriculum. The curriculum is constantly being updated. I would say in most subject areas, there's minor to moderate changes in the curriculum every few years, which is, as technology changes and jobs change and career paths change, I think it's a good thing that there's the curriculum is being adapted as we kind of move along. Teachers, I know quite a few of the teachers in Victoria. Teachers are mainly coming from the same larger universities in BC. They're being taught the same ways to teach and to learn. modern facilities. I was out of school. This was a couple months ago, but I was out of school, and it was a robotics class, and students were making, I don't know I don't know if everybody knows what a lawnmower is, but everybody was making their own robot lawnmower that would actually go outside and cut the grass, and they were using GPS to move them. And I thought, wow, things sure have changed since I was in school. So it's pretty cool to see some of the things that are going on now in schools. We've been actively involved in international education since 1992. In 2019, so prior to this year, the start of this year, in 2019, we had 27 nationalities represented. So we're quite proud of that. That's something that we as a program really focus on, is we really want to be diverse. We don't want to have, one or two large nationalities that make up our entire student body. We really want, we want students from various parts of Asia. We want students from Europe. We have many students from Latin America. And that's something we're really proud of, is we've worked really hard to make sure that we've got students from all over the world, not just, a couple of different places. So I think that's a strength for us. And then many of our international students, as well as our local students, they're accepted into top universities, but I'm going to discuss that a little bit later on. So I'm going to move on here. I just want to briefly touch on the different options that are available. I think for this audience, I know most students coming from Hong Kong, they're coming for usually 2 to 3 years, and they're coming to graduate. So I'm not sure how much I need to cover here, but I'll just go over it quite quickly. There's the academic graduation pathway, which, as I said, most students from Hong Kong choose. However, some students may choose the 1-year language development, which is just a way for students to come here and get the experience. The experience of a new culture, maybe some language acquisition before returning to their home country. And then the other areas, I think I'm going to kind of skip over for now. The one thing I will mention that we do have that is unique to Victoria is we do operate an international student summer program. So for students who are on the graduation pathway and they might not want to go home for the summer, we do offer July and August classes where they can continue to take courses and get credits towards their graduation, which most international programs don't do that. So just something to consider as well. A little bit about our facilities and the school amenities. All 7 of our high schools are very similar. Right now, Oak Bay High School was built about 4 years ago. Mount Douglas High School just went through some renovations. Victoria High School is being completely renovated at a cost of $80 million. In a couple of years, Reynolds is going to get an upgrade. So all of our schools are constantly being upgraded so as to make sure that they're conducive to learning and they're giving students the best environment to learn. So all of our schools, they're going to have computer labs. They're going to have classroom laptop sets. They're going to have robotics, 3D printers, computer programs, all sorts of fancy drafting, engineering type programs are available, as well as science-related technologies. And then in terms of like core components within a building, every school has at least one gym, has a weightlifting room. There's yoga studios. We've got biology labs, obviously chemistry labs, computer labs, automotive departments. We've got automotive painting departments. We've got construction, electrical and woodworking departments, foods and nutrition labs, performing arts studios, dance studios. There's there's a very large range of different facilities available to students within the school. And then even within the area of each school, you'll often find, I think, pretty much all of our schools have a community swimming pool within a block of them. So it's not just the amenities at the school, it's the amenities around the school as well. So it's great in terms of finding your passion, which I'm going to explore here in a little bit more detail. So as you can imagine, actually, I'm just going to I'm hoping everybody, I've got one person saying they can't hear me. Can everyone can hear me? I'm assuming. It'd be really embarrassing it would be embarrassing if I'm on here and nobody can hear me. I'm going to assume you can, but if you can't, please feel free to speak up. Okay, so people can hear me. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Okay, so I talk to students obviously every day. I've been in my position for the past 5 years. And one area that I think students really enjoy more than any, perhaps, is when they come here, it's a little less rigid in terms of what you have to take and what you can choose to take. So, for students who are really into engineering and mathematics or science-based, we have all sorts of options for those students to explore. There's really endless program options for those students. However, not all students are going to be engineers or software designers. So there's all types of courses available for those students as well. We have a very large number of students of our international students who are currently taking dance. Dance has become extremely popular and for both male and female students. And I'd say it's one of the more popular courses. Now that doesn't mean, students can take dance in one block and then they can go to physics 12 and they can go to calculus 12 and they can go to robotics 12 or video game design 12. What I'm trying to say is you don't have to just kind of choose one little area and really focus on it. You can really explore different passions, different interests while you're here, because the number of course options is it's immense. And starting in grade 9 and grade 10, we're allowing students to choose, I would say 25 to 35% of their courses. But then once you're getting into grade 11 and grade 12, you're choosing at least 50 to 60% of your courses. You still have to take the core subjects. You still need to take English. You still need to take math. You still need to take a science. You can take many math and science courses if you want, but you're having that opportunity to kind of select other things. Like, maybe you want to learn how to fix a car, or maybe you want to learn a little bit about woodworking, not necessarily for a future, but just because you're interested in it. And I know that that's something that students have really valued during their time in Victoria. Yeah, so a little bit about teaching and learning. As I mentioned, students they can kind of choose what direction they want to go. But no matter what direction they choose, they're going to be having teachers that are highly qualified. All of the teachers that I know, and I know quite a few teachers, I would say 90 to 95% of them have a master's degree, either in teaching and curriculum design or in their area or teachable. So for instance, if you're a chemistry teacher, you have a master's in chemistry. So that's one thing I think we really excel at, not just in Victoria. I think in British Columbia, our provincial education is considered to be top-notch in Canada and throughout the world. And I think that really comes down to how well trained our teachers are. One of the big questions I receive from parents and students quite often is with regard to English language and how students are able to succeed. And all I can say is that as a country of immigration, we've been having people arrive in Canada who can't speak English pretty much since the beginning of our existence. Our schools are very well adapted to English language learners. Our teachers, and I should say students, they might have English language learners, particularly lower level or students who have to, more development that needs to occur. They're often placed in regular classrooms most of the time. They might have 1 or 2 blocks in the school year where they're really focused on ELL, English language learning, but for the most part, they're going to be going to school and in regular classrooms, and the teachers are just going to adapt the curriculum to meet their needs. So, it can be quite scary for students and it can be quite intense, but it's amazing how much language a young person's brain can pick up in just even one semester in a 5-month period. I've met students who've, their language is quite low when they arrive, their English language, and then 5 months later they're able to have a pretty decent conversation with you, which is pretty spectacular. We also offer flex blocks as well as open class hours. What that means is during flex blocks, those are scheduled times during the week where students can choose where they go. So, if you're having a difficult time in your Chemistry 11 class, then during that flex block, you would go to the Chemistry 11 classroom and you would receive support. That teacher would also have open classroom hours. It might be before school or after school. There'd be times where you could go speak with your teacher to get help as well. All of our students have Google Learn accounts, which essentially are ways for students to keep track of their learning online with a host of different learning tools that Google provides. So that's another tool that we use. And then lastly, we do have peer tutoring programs, which is something I really like. It's when you're in grade 11 or grade 12 and you're, a stronger student, a high achieving student, and you actually tutor some of your peers. So if you're a grade 9 or a grade 10 student and you're struggling with math, then you could go to a peer tutoring block after school and you'd have a grade 11 or a grade 12 student who's strong at math support you. So it's kind of a cool way to get students knowing each other and to just make the school feel like a community. Now I'm gonna kind of switch gears a little bit, and I want to chat just a little bit about student support and kind of the various roles that people have to support our international students. So as I mentioned earlier, we have 7 high schools. Each high school has 2 teachers, or a vice principal, I should say, and 1 teacher or counselor. And their job or their role or responsibility is to ensure that their international students are well looked after. So if there's any challenges that the students are having, they know to go to their student advisors to seek support. And it's a system that works very well. And then my job, obviously, is to be in constant communication with the high schools and the student advisors to make sure that they're doing their job and that students are supported. Okay. We also have post-secondary career counselors. So each school has a career counseling office, and the purpose of the career counseling office is to provide students with information about post-secondary programs. If a student is really interested in veterinary medicine, looking after animals, then they could go to the career counseling office. The career counseling office would have information about the different university programs that are available in Canada, and then the career counselor could provide information about how to apply, what the student will need, and kind of help them through those steps. Okay, and then kind of, I don't want to say above the school, but in partnership with the school, if you will, we have 4 student support managers. I'm one of those student support managers. So My role is to support students from Hong Kong. So as I mentioned, just being in constant communication, talking to agents, talking to families. I often set up, if a student's struggling, I'll set up a Zoom meeting with the family and with the agent so we can talk through it and try and find solutions. We also have the academic student support program, which is tutoring at night, if you will. Tuesdays and Wednesdays from 4 to 6 p.m. We have a program where students can come to our school, or our main office, I should say. We have a classroom set up and they can get help from teachers. We also have an orientation program for new students. So when they arrive, it's a 3-day orientation. This is in normal, non-COVID times. Right now, all of our orientation is online, but we're hoping this coming September that for the new students arriving in September, we'll be back to physical in-person orientation. We have 12 to 15 universities who come to our head office twice a year for university fairs. We've had a lot of success with it. We've got University of Toronto, we've got McGill, we've got UBC, we've got Simon Fraser, University of Alberta, University of Waterloo, like some of the biggest names, the biggest institutions in Canada are coming, and the nice thing is they're asking to come back because the quality of students is so high. So that's been really great for us. And then we also have very close relationships with both Camosun College and the University of Victoria, which are both two great institutions for students who may not be as strong academically, or just who need more time to develop. We have a great plan with Camosun College where they finish off with us. They can go to Camosun College for 1 or 2 years, continue to develop their language skills, pursue an area of interest, and then they can transfer to University of Victoria for 2 more years and finish off their degree and end up with a University of Victoria degree. So we're pretty fortunate that we have all these, very high quality institutions, down the street from us. So, and homestay. Okay, so aside from the education side of things, I think the question I get asked about the most from students in particular is homestay, because many students are quite nervous about coming to Canada, new culture, new language, and then suddenly you're moving in with people you don't know. And I can understand that. It's a very brave thing that students do, and I can tell you that we strive to do an absolutely great job of making sure that our students are looked after. As I mentioned, I'm the custodian for many of the students from Hong Kong, and I want them to be happy here. I want them to be safe. That's legally, it's on me that they're safe. So we have probably the most well-staffed homestay program in the entire country. We have a homestay manager, and then we have a homestay coordinator at each of our high schools. And what's so nice about that is it means we always know where the student is living, obviously first, the quality of the homestay, and we can contact the homestay family in under a minute. And that's why we really like it when there's students in our homestay program, is we feel like we just have a better understanding of the exact environment that students are living in. And I can say that homestay coordinators are in constant communication with our students. So if you're a student and you're going to one of our high schools and you have a question or a concern, our homestay coordinators are in the schools every day, meeting with students, checking in, just saying hello, because we want to make sure that everybody feels comfortable, safe, welcome in their homestay. So we really work hard at that. Most of our homestays have been with us for years and years and years. Our homestay coordinators know them by name, and they know each other, and some of them are friends, and it's just a really established program, a very experienced staff. So it's great for me because that's not really my area, but I fully trust our homestay. And if anything comes up, I know I can go to them and it's going to get taken care of, and I'm going to work through them with it. I think I've said my bit there. And then something just a little bit more fun. Obviously, the main reason students are coming here is for the academics, the language, moving on to post-secondary perhaps. But at the same time, as I mentioned earlier, we want students to explore their interests and their passions outside of just maybe, you know, their study path, if you will, you know, trying to develop as a full human. So we've got trips to Whistler, Banff, Vancouver, Seattle. We do little mini trips that students can sign up for on the Vancouver Island area. We have an International Student Leadership Council. What their job is to kind of organize little events for our international students as well as our local students. We have Christmas and spring dances, and then something that I'm not sure if you have this in Hong Kong or not, but a requirement in British Columbia is that before you can graduate, you have to do 30 hours of community service. So that's also something that we help facilitate with the school in terms of making sure that students are going out and volunteering and getting the hours they need to graduate. Okay. All right, so this is another area that we feel, you know, we're quite proud. We've had a number of students who have gone on to many successful or very well established universities. So right now, you know, this was actually from 2020 was such a strange year. So this was actually from the year prior, 2019. But as of June 2019, we had students going to McGill University, which is one of the top universities in Canada. Same with the University of Toronto, University of Waterloo. University of Waterloo is, you know, in Canada anyway, it's considered to be kind of the top tech school. University of British Columbia, and we had a student, an international student from Japan, who received an $85,000 scholarship to go to UBC, and he's pursuing a degree in marine biology, I believe. Simon Fraser University, University of Victoria, $100,000 scholarship to the University of Alberta. Again, that was a sciences-related scholarship. So I don't want to just read all these off to you, but it's very safe to assume that, you know, if you decide to come to Victoria and you work hard, you know, you're going to have every opportunity to continue your studies either in Canada, which I find most students who graduate from high school in Victoria, most international students are staying in Canada. They're either staying in Victoria or they're going to the Toronto, Ontario region, or they're going to Vancouver. But, you know, some students, I will say, like we had a student last year who went to University of California on a tennis scholarship. So it's not, there's more options than just Canada. If you have a BC high school diploma and you've got quality marks, then you can essentially go anywhere in the world, which is a positive. And then lastly, this was a survey that we do every year. Again, because it was such a strange year in 2020, this is a survey from 2019. And you'll have to forgive me, I don't remember the exact numbers, but how was your overall academic performance? And 85% of students rated it excellent, which obviously is something that we want to increase. We're happy with it, but there's a ways to go there. So that's something we're looking forward to. And then would you recommend the Greater Victoria School District to your family and friends? And we were at about 62% very likely, and then about 35% were likely. So again, quite good, but something we still want to improve on and continue to ensure that students are feeling like Victoria is just the place they want to be. So that wraps up kind of the info session part of this. Now I'm going to assume, I'm just going to switch over here. Bear with me for one moment as I okay. Okay. So, oh, there's someone in the waiting room. Shoot. Oh, I missed that. Sorry. Sometimes when you get going on here with this Zoom, it's you're talking and you kind of get into it and you forget to check the wait room. Oh, there's still someone there. Thank you for letting me know, Chowdy. I'm just gonna let them join. Okay, so I'm hoping everybody can see me again. As I said, that's kind of the info side of it. However, I'm going to assume that there's some questions. Now I know that some people may be a little bit nervous about turning on their audio. So if you have a question and you want to put it in the chat box, you can do that, or you can turn on your microphone and just ask your question. I know, having done this many times in the past, well, recently anyway, I feel like Zoom has just become a part of everyone's life now, but I know a question that's been coming up quite often is COVID and how things are going in BC, Canada, Victoria. So I think it's important that maybe I take a couple of minutes and just talk about that a little bit, because it's the world we live in right now. So Canada as a whole, I would say most Canadians are, I would say, a bit disappointed in how things are going. There's been for the size of our population, there's been quite a large number of cases. Now, that's unfortunate, but fortunately for British Columbia, most of those cases are in Ontario and Quebec. As I'm sure everybody who's listening knows, Canada is an extremely large country. So what's happening in one part of the country is very different than what's happening to another. Now in BC, things have been better. They could still be better, but on Vancouver Island, because I think partially because we are an island, things have actually been quite good since the pandemic started for us in March in Canada. As of yesterday, I believe there was 140 cases of COVID, but that's on all of Vancouver Island. South Vancouver Island, which is where Victoria is, there's about 45 active cases. So in a city of 400,000 people, we've been able to keep it quite low. One thing I'll say is it's definitely changed mask wearing in North America. I'm sure some of you know, masks are obviously quite common in parts of Asia, but in Canada, I had never worn a mask in my entire life. And then now, anytime, I'm going to anywhere really, I wear my mask. We have to be socially distant from each other. Restaurants can only be open for so long. You can only stay with your family members. You can't have friends, or you can't visit your friends. I'm sure it's very similar in Hong Kong. So I just think it's important. Oh, and one other thing I should mention, by the end of March, the BC government has announced that they're hoping to have 10% of the population in BC vaccinated. And then they're hoping by the end of April, beginning of May, they're hoping to have most teachers vaccinated. They're vaccinating teachers first because adults tend to spread the virus more. And they're also, most of the testing, I guess, during the whole vaccination trials was on adults. So we're going to get our teachers vaccinated, and then we're hopeful that students who are in our program right now will be vaccinated by the end of June. So The plan is, the hope is by September, things will be somewhat more normal. And hopefully they're somewhat more normal everywhere. Okay. Any questions for me? Anyone want to talk about anything? I'm really easy to chat with. I don't bite. Feel free to ask your questions. I'm sure there's a few. Happy to assist. Don't make me be the guy on Zoom who just has to stare quietly into the screen. No questions? Good question. Okay, so thank you for that. Do Canadian passport holders from Hong Kong pay international fees too? The answer is maybe. So you would need to have a member of your family who is living and working and paying taxes in Canada to not pay international fees. But it is a question we get. I know that many, I think Hong Kong might have the most Canadian passport holders of anywhere outside of Canada in the world, I believe. So I know that's a question that comes up quite often. Okay, so the next question I have is, can I ask about transferring credits from Hong Kong to your school if I completed F4 in Hong Kong? You'll have to forgive me. I'm not sure what you mean by Hong Kong or by F4, but I will let you know how it works. So some credits at your school will be credited. So for instance, if you come in grade 11, I can give you credits for most of your subjects in grade 10, which means, you know, those credits will count towards your graduation. The only course I can't give you credit for in grade 10 is grade 10 English, which you would have to do here. But if you were to come in grade 11, you would get most of your credits for grade 10. Grade 11, it gets a little bit more difficult because for the government only allows some subjects to be credited. So if you took like PE or art, I could give you credit for those in grade 11. But the foundation courses like social studies, math, science, there's requirements that you have to do those in BC and do BC curriculum to get a high school diploma. So it gets a little bit complicated, but the easiest way to remember is I can give you credit for grade 10 courses. It's more difficult to give you credit for grade 11 courses. Yeah, so that's perfect. So equivalent, F4 is equivalent to grade 10, and I provide credits for grade 10 almost every day. So like I said, the only subject you may have to take or you would take is English 10, which you could do right away when you get here if you decide to come to Victoria or wherever you go. It's the same rules at all the school districts in BC. I can't speak for other provinces. How many Hong Kong students in your school district? So this year our international student numbers are obviously quite a bit lower. So I'm not going to talk about this year because I'm hoping it's you know, it's a unique year and things go back to normal. So in a normal year, we would have between 30 and 40 students from Hong Kong. And then we do our very best to spread our students out. So, you know, we have our 7 high schools and we really try to make sure that we spread all of the nationalities out throughout the school. And I'll just to go one step further. In a given year, we have somewhere between 900 and 950 international students. That's not all high school. We have, 50 or 60 in elementary. We've got another 50 or 60 in middle school. So say we have about, 750 international students in high school. So each school would have, somewhere between 80 and 100 international students. But then each high school has, between around 1,100, 1,200 students. So it usually makes up about 8%, 9% of the population at a school. Anyone have anything else they want to chat about? Okay, so the question is, if you're in grade 11 and you would like to come for grade 12, and you ask, is it possible to graduate in 1 year? The short answer is no, but you should be able to graduate in, so one year, let's say 12 months, you should be able to graduate in 18 months. So it takes, if you come in grade 12, to get all of the courses you need, it usually takes a year and a half. So it takes 3 semesters, we would say. For students in that position, they often will come in September, they'll stay the full year, and then they'll stay in the summer, take a couple of courses because we have a summer program, and then they'll stay in September and finish off they'll graduate in January. So they would only do like a half year. So that's the way we would do that. The one thing you have to remember is if you're trying to get a high school diploma in BC and then you're going to go off to university or college, and you just have to make sure it's not only about graduating. You need to make sure that you get the courses you need for the program you're going to apply to. I hope that makes sense. So if I'm going to be a doctor, I can't just rush through to get the high school diploma. There's certain courses I need to make sure that I get if I'm going to go and then apply to a medical program or some type of, if you're going to go for your degree in medicine, even though that's not really a degree, but okay, so school fees. Yes, I think it would be easier for me I'm just going to share my screen here. Just bear with me for 1 moment. I'll pull them up for you. It's a bit of I don't want to say it's complex or difficult. For me to just say them out loud, I'll probably mess something up, and I don't think it's going to help you to understand the fees. So I'm just going to pull them up. Give me 1 moment here. Okay, everybody should be able to see this. So this is the fee structure for September 2021, okay? I think 99% of you are interested in pursuing a high school diploma in BC or Canada. So I really think the area you are probably looking is more right here. So your total fees are 26,975 Canadian dollars. That includes everything, medical, homestay. As I mentioned, some Hong Kong students, they will opt for private homestay. So that would mean the 9,750 would be taken off of the homestay fee. Personally, I like it when the students are in our homestay. It makes it a little bit easier for me to keep track and make sure everyone's is doing well. But that's the basic fee structure. So I'll leave that up for a minute so you can you can view it. Okay. And you know what I will do? I'm just going to type in, if you have more questions about, you know, if something comes up during your day and you want to, I'm just going to send my email. Oh, shoot, I don't want it private. I want that to go to everybody. Let me try that again. So that's my email address. If you might want to just copy and paste that or write it down or take a picture. If you have a question or anything like that, what I can tell you is, you know, FSS is a very strong partner for us. Their level of communication is very high, and they are very knowledgeable, more experienced than I am in the world of international education. So you're very well looked after with FSS as well. So is there? Oh, okay. Sorry, I missed a question. Another good question. Is it possible to do online school to complete grade 12? Any recommendations? Unfortunately, the BC government has fairly strict rules about doing online while you're overseas. So right now, at this moment, they are allowing some courses to be offered for students who are overseas because of COVID. But I think at the end of this year, it will go back to normal. At the end of June, I should say, it will go back to normal, and you won't be able to take courses online from overseas. Yeah, so you would have to, okay, sorry. You would have to come back, or sorry, not come back. You would have to come to Canada to get your high school diploma. You might be able to take a course or two on, not you might, if you were here and you were in class, you could also do another course or two online if you wanted, but you'd have to be in Victoria or in BC. Sorry, I'm just reading. Is there any other questions? Anyone have anything else that I can try my best to answer for you? I'm happy to answer any questions. I often tell students, you know, like I'm still very much a teacher. You know, I like talking to students and families. I really want what's best for you. Maybe Victoria is a great place for you to study, or maybe it's not right for you, but I'm happy to answer any questions about just studying in Canada in general. Yeah, okay, so this is good questions all over the place tonight. So a student's asking about, or I'm not sure if it's a student or a family member, but they're asking about, for students who have had academic challenges in the past, is it still possible to come to Canada, come to BC, come to Victoria, and study? And the answer is generally yes. What I'll usually ask for when you apply is your last 2 years of transcripts, and I'll look those over. You know, your transcripts or your grades from your last school. So I'll look those over carefully. And then, you know, if you've got a couple of subjects where, you know, maybe you didn't meet the requirements, or, you know, you're just really not good at chemistry or biology or whatever it might be, then I might have a couple of questions and we'll talk through it. And generally speaking, I will allow students to come if they, haven't passed, a subject or two. I'll have some questions and I want to talk about it, but we like to give students opportunities to show that they can do it. So we don't love basing it just on, your academic success. We want, we just want students who are committed to coming here, committed to learning, and just want to become better people and be successful. And that might be, for each person, being successful might be different. Maybe you're a genius or an A+ student in physics and math, and that's successful for you. But then for another student, maybe being successful is being, getting into dance or acting or automotive. So there's different pathways, and we don't have like a hard rule about, oh no, sorry, you failed the course last year, you can't come. So I hope that helps answer that question a little bit. Okay, so I think I'm going to wrap it up. Again, I just want to say thank you to everybody. I know it's Saturday. I know it's, kind of the middle of the day. It's middle of the day. I guess it's COVID times, though nobody has anything to do anyway. So thanks for joining me tonight. This was recorded, so please feel free to, you should be able to access it in the coming days. And yeah, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. And again, you're in great hands with FSS. Okay, so hope everybody has a great weekend, and I will chat with you all later. Have a good night.